So section 9, levy and collection of GST. So basically it is section 9 of CGST Act. Whatever revision we are doing is first of CGST Act. Section 9 of CGST Act, levy and collection. Subsection 1, forward charge mechanism, that is supplier is liable to pay GST. Alcoholic liquor for human consumption is permanently kept out of GST. The maximum rate of CGST that government can set is 20%. So indirectly the maximum rate of GST is 40%. Okay. Then there is GST rate decided as per notification. GST rate is decided as per notification. The value will be computed as per section 15. On that value the GST rate will be applied. Okay, then section 9 subsection 2, 5 fuels are kept out of GST for time being. Petroleum crude, natural gas, aviation turbine fuel, motor spirit and high speed diesel. 9.3 and 9.4, liability of recipient of supply to pay GST. It is called as reverse charge mechanism. So reverse charge mechanism is only in notified cases. And 9.5, liability of e-commerce operator to pay GST. Okay, in 5 cases it is liability of ECO to pay GST. So basically when notified services are supplied through ECO, it is liability of ECO to pay GST. What are the cases? Number 1, the motor car service, means cab service, and the example of ECO here is Ola, or there could be other examples also. Second, accommodation services supplied by unregistered persons. Housekeeping services supplied by unregistered persons. Then bus operator service supplied by any person other than company. Okay, means example of ECO here is Red Bus. And lastly, yes, restaurant services. And the example of ECO here is Zomato, Swiggy. Then now, today we can revise section 10 also. Composition levy. Eligibility to composition levy. Any registered person whose aggregate turnover in the preceding financial year does not exceed rupees 1.5 crore / rupees 75 lakhs as the case may be. Rupees 75 lakhs is applicable in case of AUMMMNST, Arunachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland, Sikkim, Tripura. Isn't it? What is the definition of aggregate turnover as given in section 2 clause 6? So aggregate turnover includes taxable supply, exempt supply, interstate supply, intrastate supply, exports of all persons having same PAN to be computed on all India basis. But it especially excludes GST, and it also excludes inward supply on which tax is payable on reverse charge basis. But one thing we have to understand specifically for section 10 purpose, that this aggregate turnover will not include interest on FD. Okay, loans, advances, deposit, it will not include. Whenever I am in 10.1 composition scheme, then the rate of GST for manufacturer is 1% of total turnover. If I am trader, then 1% of taxable turnover. And if I am a restaurant service provider, then 2.5% CGST, 2.5% SGST. So total becomes 5%. And that 1% was also CGST plus SGST, that is 0.5 plus 0.5. Then there is a 10.2A composition scheme. What is 10.2A composition scheme? Where the aggregate turnover of preceding financial year does not exceed rupees 50 lakhs and the person is not eligible for 10.1 composition scheme. So in general, 10.2A composition scheme is for service providers. In this, the rate of GST is 6%. 3% CGST, 3% SGST. Okay, then understand, whenever you are calculating the percentage means the GST under composition scheme, it is only on outward supply. Further, it will not include the supplies from 1st April till the date person becomes liable for registration. Means first 40 lakhs, first 20 lakhs will not be considered for calculating turnover on which GST is payable. Then there are some registered persons who are not eligible for composition scheme irrespective of turnover. If they are engaged in interstate outward supply of goods or services. Second, they are CTP, NRTP. Third, they are manufacturers of such goods as may be notified by government. Ice cream, pan masala, tobacco substitutes, aerated water, roofing tiles, fly ash bricks, okay, and other construction materials. And after that, who else is not eligible? Person who is dealing exclusively, or you can say person who is dealing in such goods which are not liable to GST, okay, and person who is supplying goods via ECO or goods or services via ECO. Okay. Then one thing you have to understand, a registered person will not be eligible to opt for composition scheme if all persons having same PAN do not opt for the same. Do you remember the example? Means if I have multiple units in multiple states but PAN is same, then all these persons in different states should opt for composition scheme, then only all will be eligible to opt. If one also says I want to be in section 9, then all will be in section 9. Clear? Then once composition scheme is opted, then tax is to be paid on quarterly basis, but GST return will be filed on annual basis. GST return annual basis, tax payment quarterly basis, okay, by 18th of the month following the quarter, and details given in statement called as GST CMP 08, and return filed on annual basis by 30th April following the end of the financial year in GSTR 4. And once I have opted composition scheme, I cannot avail ITC, neither can a person who purchases from me avail ITC. Okay, so this is your section 10. 11, we have not yet done exemptions under GST. 12, 13, time of supply. 12 is time of supply of goods, 13 is time of supply of services. 12, 13 both have 6 subsections. 1, introduction. 2, forward charge mechanism. 3, reverse charge mechanism. 4, vouchers. 5, residuary. 6, additional consideration by way of interest, late fees, penalty payable by recipient of supply. Recipient of supply. Okay. And then 15, value of supply. 15.1, assessable value shall be transaction value, that is price actually paid or payable for supply of goods or services or both, where supplier, recipient of supply are not related and price is the sole consideration. 15.2, inclusions. What your assessable value shall include? A, B, C, D, E. A, taxes other than GST. B, expenses incurred by recipient of supply on behalf of supplier. C, incidental expenses. D, interest, late fees, penalty. E, subsidies linked to the price of the goods or services but other than central government and state government subsidies. Subsection 3, exclusion. You should exclude discount. Discount given A, before or at the time of supply, B, after supply, but conditions to be satisfied. If given before supply, please check that it is recorded in the invoice. If given after supply, 3 conditions to be satisfied. Number 1, it is as per terms of the supply. Number 2, the amount of that particular discount is relatable to the invoice. And third, most important condition, ITC attributable to discount is reversed by recipient of supply. Now 16, ITC eligibility and conditions. Just now we have done that. How many conditions? 5. At least 5 conditions we have seen. And who is eligible to take ITC? Registered person. On what? On inward supply of goods or services or both which are used or intended to be used in course or furtherance of business. What are the conditions? He should be in possession of invoice. The tax on the supply should be actually paid to the government. The goods or services should be actually received. The GST return should have been furnished. And lastly, the details of this are given by GSTR 1 in his outward supply, which is reflected in GSTR 2A 2B of the recipient. And then what you have to understand is if inputs are received in lots of installments, ITC can be claimed only on receipt of last lot of installment. And then other two provisos are that if recipient of supply does not make payment to supplier within 180 days from the date of invoice, then amount of ITC availed will be added back to the output tax along with interest. And if subsequently recipient of supply makes payment to supplier, then he can again avail ITC. 16.3 is talking about if if depreciation of income tax is claimed on value of capital goods plus GST, then of that GST ITC cannot be availed. And 16.4, last date of taking ITC. What is the last date of taking ITC? 30th November following the end of the financial year to which the invoice or debit note pertains, or actual date of filing annual return, whichever is earlier. 17 we are going to do tomorrow, that is apportionment and block credits. 18 ITC in special circumstances. 19 is not there. 19, 20, this is intermediate batch. So 19, 20, 21 is kept at final level. 22 to 30 registration under GST. 31 tax invoice and other documents. 34 debit note and credit note. 35 accounts and records. 36 period of retention of accounts and records. 37 to 48 filing of returns. 49 payment of GST. In that 49.5 utilization of ITC to pay output tax. 50 interest for delay in payment of GST. 51 TDS. 52 TCS. 53 transfer of credits. All these sections are of CGST Act as applicable in your exams. Now just two sections are important in your exam for IGST. Those two sections are of place of supply. Section 10 and section 12. 10 place of supply of goods other than in case of imports and exports. 10 has got two subsections, 1 and 2. Forget 2, but 1 is important. 1 has got 6 clauses, A, B, C, CA, D, E. Where supply involves movement of goods, the place of supply is location of the goods at the time of their delivery to the recipient. B in case of bill to ship model. In case of bill to ship model, place of supply is location of the third person. Third person means that on whose instruction goods are moving to other party. Okay, then C, where supply does not involve movement of goods, that is when the goods are delivered. That place of supply when the goods are delivered, location of goods when they are delivered. CA, over the counter supply done to unregistered person. Place of supply is location of the state of that unregistered person. If it gives that address. If it does not give the address, then location of supplier. D, place of supply in case of installation of goods. The place of supply is where the goods are actually installed or assembled. And E, place of supply of goods supplied on board a conveyance. So place of supply is where the goods are taken on the board, that is means loaded on the conveyance. And then comes last one for today, 12. 12 is place of supply of services where both supplier as well as recipient of supply are in India. 12 has 14 subsections. 1 is introduction, 2 is general or residuary, means whatever not covered in 3 to 14 automatically gets covered in 2. What is 3? Services in relation to immovable property, and place of supply becomes location of that immovable property, where it is located or intended to be located. But if it is intended to be located outside India, place of supply is location of recipient of supply. If property is located in multiple states, then place of supply is each such state in some agreed proportion. Then 12.4. 12.4 is performance based service like training service, ट्रेनिंग नहीं मीन्स ट्रेनिंग मीन्स फिटनेस, फिटनेस सर्विस, restaurant, catering, healthcare, cosmetic plastic surgery. In this case, place of supply is where the service is actually performed. 12.5 training service. Training service is given to registered person. Place of supply is location of recipient of supply. If given to unregistered person, where the training is actually done, means where the training takes place. 12.6 admission to an event, amusement park. Place of supply is location of that event or amusement park or that any other place. 12.7 event management. 12.7 is event management service. If given to registered person, location of recipient of supply. If given to unregistered person, then where the event is actually held. But if the event is held outside India, then location of recipient of supply. Then 12.8 passenger nahi, goods transportation service. If given to a registered person, location of recipient of supply. If given to unregistered person, where the goods are handed over for their transportation. 12.9 passenger transportation service. In passenger transportation service, if given to registered person, location of recipient of supply. If given to unregistered person, where the passenger embarks on the conveyance for continuous journey. But in continuous journey, onward journey and return journey are to be treated as separate journeys, and in this case, if it is not known point of embarkation, then place of supply will be as per subsection 2. Then 12.10 services on board a conveyance. So first scheduled point of departure of that conveyance. 12.11 telecommunication services. So you know that telecommunication service, landline, then the place where that landline is installed. Mobile, prepaid, postpaid. If prepaid by online mode, then address of location of recipient of supply. If it is by any voucher, then where that voucher is actually sold. And if it is by reseller, if the recharge is done through reseller or any other person, then his address in books of supplier. And if it is postpaid, then address of recipient of supply in the books of supplier. Then friends, 12.12 banking service. In banking service, if the address of recipient of supply exists in records of supply, then location of recipient of supply. If it does not exist, then location of supplier. 12.13 insurance service. What is there in insurance service? Yes, insurance service B2B means given to registered person, location of such person. If given to unregistered person, address of recipient of supply in books of supplier. And 12.14 banking advertising services given to government. So for that place of supplies, each of that state where such advertising service is actually given, where there is a dissemination of information. So one thing we have not revised, 12.2 general. If anything not covered in subsection 3 to subsection 14, like legal service, CA service, CS service, CMA service, astrology service. So many examples could be given for 12.2. So for 12.2, what is the place of supply? Yes, if it is B2B, then location of recipient of supply. If it is B2C, then if address of recipient of supply exists on records of supplier, then place of supply is location of recipient of supply. If it does not exist, then location of supplier. Thank you so much. Almost it was breathless. Bye bye. Thank you. You could participate in all of it. Well done. Thank you.